Well, the country forgot Joe Biden's still president. But today his approval rating hit an all-time low, 34%.
As you prepare to leave the White House, any other regrets that you have? Anything you wish you would have done differently?
Well, I guess if I thought a lot about it, it'd be something I would done specifically done, but not generically.
No regrets. Biden won't take this new poll well. He's obsessed with what people think of him.
When history is all told, how do you want to be remembered? What do you want your legacy to be?
I kept my word that when I said I was going to do something, I did.
Biden lied almost about everything, including pardoning Hunter. History's not going to forgive that. So Biden's delaying his retirement to clean up his legacy.
I'm not going away. I'm going to be deeply involved in the environmental movement, deeply involved in foreign policy, deeply involved in all the things I've been involved in before.
We don't know what Joe's going to do with the environment or foreign policy, and neither does he. The big guy isn't even working now. What makes you think he's going to do anything after January? But this is exactly how Biden's team likes it. Keep Joe far away from the spotlight.
They don't want to end his presidency with one last humiliation. So they just made the decision to keep him away. And to me, I've been sad about it. I've been angry about it. Just really disappointed as a Democrat.
Oh, with the election lost and Biden put out to pasture, Democrats are leaking like a busted sink. The Wall Street Journal talked to more than 50 Biden insiders to find out what's really been going on in the White House for the last 4 years. This bombshell report reveals Biden was even worse than we thought. Joe was AWOL most of his presidency.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So once again, we got to talk about Lying Joe Biden. Okay, Lying Biden. Lying Joe. Okay, that's going to be my new nickname for Joe Biden because it seems like every time his mouth is moving, he is lying about something. And the latest lie from Joe Biden is that he has no regrets, right? He had no regrets as president, right? He had no regrets for what happened during his administration, despite the fact that the Democrats staged a coup against him. And his legacy has basically been destroyed. He's going to go down as one of the worst presidents in American history, certainly the worst president of the 21st century. It is hard to imagine any other president that we could have in the next 75 years or so being worse than this man. And it's just kind of sad, right? It really is thinking about what's going to happen to Joe Biden, okay? Because everybody kind of knows, everybody sees the writing on the wall when it comes to how the American people are going to think about him going into the future.
But Joe Biden's record with regard to the things that he's accomplished, I think will stand the test of time. Now, what my dear friend Scott and others will talk about, and quite frankly, I'm going to say this, rightfully so, it was very disturbing to learn late in the year about just how poor his health has become. And like many, I did not realize that it had gotten to that point. That being said, I think he showed up for the job. He got the work done. I think some of the accomplishments also in the Middle East and foreign policy will also stand the test of time.
You think the Middle East is in better shape today than when he took office?
Well, I think he got our hostages home. I think that's a big deal. I think it's important.
I'm sorry, which hostages?
He's gotten a number of people home. He was able.
There's still 100 people over there.
Well, there were more than
including some Americans. Look, I think he's gonna leave office in disgrace. The Hunter Biden pardon was disgraceful. He's going to be remembered largely for inflation and for the disastrous Afghanistan pullout. And I think as we continue to, we're just getting the first draft of this now, but as we continue to learn about the massive cover-up that went on, not about his health, but about his mental acuity, to cover that up, the efforts that were undertaken by the White House staff, by his family, not in the last couple of months, but for all 4 years, I think it's going to be a really ugly chapter. It's a diminished presidency because of it. And I think we still don't know the full extent of what they did to try to hide what they've been doing over in the West Wing.
So I think leaving in disgrace is when you have an insurrection at the Capitol. Like, that's leaving in disgrace. Being impeached twice is leaving in disgrace. So that's a difference. I think Joe Biden's going to be remembered in the short term for what you were talking about, whether or not he had the capacity to lead, who knew what when. I mean, there are many people outside of the very small network of Anita Dunn and Valerie Biden Owens and Jill Biden and Hunter there aren't many people who knew the concerns that were there or whether or not he was up or fit for the job. And so those questions will be asked. Over the long term, this is somebody a lot like Mitch McConnell. You don't necessarily have to agree with everything they stood for. You don't have to agree with every vote, but you always knew they put the American people first.
Yeah, so I think I'm getting to the point where I believe that Bakari Sellers is the dumbest, absolutely dumbest political commentator on television, right? There's not many people on television that are more out of touch than this guy when it comes to the current state of American politics, which should be surprising. This is the guy that thought that Kamala Harris could beat Trump, right? Thought that Kamala Harris had a decent chance of winning, right? Now, all these black and brown people were going to come out and vote for Kamala Harris, right? Soul Sister Harris. That didn't happen, okay? That didn't happen. So, again, what you're seeing here is that Biden, he knows that his legacy is cooked, okay? His legacy is going to be the president that lied to the American people about everything, okay? His administration is the administration of gaslighting people, okay, of woke lunacy, of a bad economy, open borders, chaos, destruction. That's what his legacy is as president, right? And that's just the reality of the situation. Now, again, the hilarious part about it is that Biden tried to avoid this by dropping out of the race. The whole point of him dropping out of the race, it was a legacy decision, okay? Because it was almost guaranteed that if Biden stayed in the race, he was going to lose to Trump. And Democrats at that point certainly would have destroyed Biden for that, right? They would have always said, well, Biden is the reason why we lost. If Kamala had gotten to the race or we had gotten somebody else into the race to replace Biden, we would have beat Trump. That's what they would have said, right? And Biden never wanted to drop out. But the reason why he dropped out is because he didn't want to risk having his legacy destroyed if he chose to stay in the race. So he decided to step aside and to allow Kamala to take his place in an attempt to save his legacy. But it turns out it was damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? He was screwed regardless of what he decided to do because Democrats are still blaming him for Trump winning, right? And he's been thrown under the bus left and right due to the fact that a lot of Democrats are saying, well, it's Biden's fault due to the fact that he stayed in the race too long, right? He should have dropped out a long time ago, and that's the reason why Kamala lost. So let's read here because Joe Biden is actually coming out and saying that he regrets stepping aside and letting Kamala Harris take his place because he believes that he could have beat Trump, right? Clearly, this guy has late-stage dementia, okay? Let's read here. President Joe Biden regrets dropping out of the 2024 presidential race because he believes he could have defeated President-elect Donald Trump. Sources close to the White House told the Washington Post. Now, again, that's not what he said in his interview, right? He didn't tell the reporter in his interview that that's what he regrets. Again, these people lie so much. They lie about everything. Can't even just have an honest conversation about what you regret, right, as president. The newspaper reported it spoke to numerous people close to the outgoing president. Some said Biden had a number of regrets about his 4 years running the country. Among them was stepping aside in July and putting his weight behind the presidential bid of Vice President Kamala Harris. Well, I mean, I would regret that as well, too, because I think everybody knew that she couldn't win, including Biden. And I believe that's the reason why Biden endorsed Kamala Harris is because he knew that she couldn't win and he could have an I told you so moment if she loses to Trump. However, Biden's not really having that moment because, again, he's kind of being blamed for everything, right? It's not like they're turning around and Democrats are saying, oh, see, we should have kept Biden in the race. Biden was the only person that could beat Trump. That's not actually what's being said. I think that's what Joe thought would be said, but that's not what's being said, right? What's being said is that, again, it's Joe Biden's fault. Okay, so I think he just kind of regrets letting Kamala Harris get into the race now knowing that it was kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? They were going to smear me like this. I might as well have stayed in the race and lost even worse than Kamala Harris did. Because, I mean, I think that Trump would have beat Joe Biden by way more than he beat Kamala Harris, right? I think that if Biden was in the race, I think Trump could have won California. I'm almost damn sure that Trump would have won New York, okay? I personally think we would have saw a lot of these like solid blue states flip red had Biden stayed in the race. In fact, I mean, Democrats basically came out and said, yeah, with Biden in the race, we had electoral maps showing Trump basically winning every state. They already admitted it. Also, apparently, Joe Biden is mad at Merrick Garland, right? He is upset because Merrick Garland slow walked, prosecute Trump, aka he didn't go after Trump hard enough, right? Fast enough. He didn't do enough sloppy work, while simultaneously allowing his son Hunter Biden to be pursued on gun and tax charges. So basically, he believes that his family, his son, they are above the law, okay? That the law does not apply to them, and that Merrick Garland should have went after Trump harder, right? Should have went after Biden's political opponents harder, okay? Apparently, that's what he regrets, okay? He regrets his administration not being more authoritarian. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So with that being said, again, we all realize that Biden is upset with Trump, right? He's mad that Trump is not in jail, and he's doing everything that he can to try to undermine Trump before Trump gets into office. Like, for example, a couple days ago, we talked about the story involving Joe Biden working out the contracts with the unions in order to prevent them from being forced to come back to work, okay, to work in person. Because a lot of federal employees are now working remotely, and Trump is saying, no, the party's over. You have to come back to work. We have all these empty buildings that we're not using, that we're paying money for to maintain, and we're not using them. You need to come back to work, okay? That or you're fired. Biden is trying to prevent Trump from being able to force the employees to come back to work, okay, or to mass fire federal employees, right? That is what Biden is currently doing, okay? He's trying to undermine Trump's agenda. Not only is he trying to undermine Trump's agenda when it comes to that, he's also trying to undermine Trump's agenda when it comes to the border and border security, because Biden is trying to make it harder for Trump to finish the wall. Biden, his administration, has been selling off border wall materials in order to prevent Trump from being able to finish the wall, okay? Because, again, Biden is jealous. He's upset, right? He knows that Trump is going to come in and he's going to clean up the illegal immigration problem, which is something that his administration made a whole lot worse. And, again, he's trying to prevent Trump from doing that, okay? So, without further ado, let's go ahead and react to this clip, because the judge has basically stopped Biden from continuing to undermine Trump by selling off parts of the border.
Texas court rules the Biden administration must immediately stop selling parts of the landmark border wall from the first Trump administration. A major win for the president-elect's border security agenda, allowing him to use those materials in his second administration. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton celebrated this ruling, saying, quote, "We will hold his administration accountable," that is the Biden administration, "for illegally subverting our nation's border security until the very last day in power," end quote. Joining me right now, Republican strategist Bobby Eberle and Democratic strategist Dante Mills. Dante, I'm going to start with you. The president-elect had called the Biden administration selling and auctioning off portions of the wall illegal as well, and says that it has cost taxpayers millions of dollars. They've been doing this since 2023. A very odd decision to make after an executive order finally realizing that the immigration crisis had reached a chaos that no one could personally handle, including the Border Patrol officers. How does the decision to actually sell off parts of the wall impact Biden's legacy and the perception of Democrats?
It doesn't at all. We know that immigration is an important policy, but the plan under current President Joe Biden was not to use those pieces of material. That has nothing to do with the larger scale policy. He was actually trying to be efficient for the American people and save them money. So what he did is there was rusting steel. There was steel that wasn't going to be used. It was rusting out. So he allowed that steel to be sold to outside companies in order for it not to go to waste. It has nothing to do with the larger big picture of immigration. I think there's a national belief that we have to tighten the border and take steps we need to make our country safer. But this was just trying to save taxpayers their money.
I have to have Bobby's take on this, because I think that that's a very reasonable answer. And a lot of people at home are saying, yeah, that makes total sense. It's rusty.
Except that's not why they're doing it. Like, come on now. Like, let's not pretend that those materials could not have been repurposed, okay, or reused in some way, okay, to help build a wall. Okay, if a private company is willing to buy the materials, what do you think they're going to do with them? Okay, they're going to repurpose them. They're going to use them for their projects. Okay, they're not just going to throw them away. They're not just going to go to waste. They can still be used. This isn't about saving money. They don't give a damn about saving money. What they give a damn about is trying to undermine Trump.
Walls. We need to get rid of things that don't make sense, that don't work. But had those portions of the wall been used, we might not be where we are today. So, Bobby, what's your take on this?
Well, right. There was a hostility from day one from the Biden administration and an overt plan to open the border. I mean, we heard over and over again that this was just seasonal. There's no border crisis, on and on and on. They stopped producing and building the wall. And this is just kind of the Biden administration's attempt to, stick a thumb in the eye of the Trump administration, just like they were doing with some of these pardons, just like they were doing with last minute debt relief on loans, but they stopped that. A lot of maneuvers at the end that I think, to answer your question, will tarnish his legacy. This is just another maneuver because the American people understood that the Biden administration was not serious about illegal immigrations. That's why it was one of the top issues going into the election and in exit polling as well. The Democrats failed miserably on this issue, and this is just Biden's last attempt to try and subvert Trump in some way before he comes into power, before he really gets serious on border security.
Facts. That's exactly what's going on here, right? Biden is jealous. He's upset. He's mad that his legacy has been destroyed because once upon a time ago, right, 4 years ago, Biden's legacy was going to be the guy who defeated Orange Man, that took down Hitler, okay, that stopped the insurrectionists, that brought the country together after January 6th. That was going to be his legacy. But 4 years of the worst administration of the 21st century, one of the worst administrations in American history, people realize, okay, yeah, your legacy in regards to beating Trump, again, that wasn't necessarily a good thing because a lot of people realize we were much better off under Trump. And so Biden is going down as the guy that ruined everything, okay, after Trump. And then Trump ultimately got back in office anyways, due to how bad his presidency was. So again, his legacy is done. He's tarnished. And at this point, he's just being petty, okay? He's trying to get revenge on everybody, including Democrats and Trump. It's just Biden versus everybody, okay? That's essentially what's going on here. And it's kind of sad, right? It really is sad to see Biden going out like this. But quite honestly, I think he deserves it, right? I really think he deserves everything that's happening to him right now. He is a disgrace. He's a one-term president that, again, surely will go down as a disgrace. And most people will remember him for being a bad president. That's just the reality of the situation. That's the reality of the situation. And it is what it is. Couldn't happen to a better person. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.